Good morning. Denise Dryden here. Wanted to introduce the idea of summertime, changing your summertime. And now that it's Memorial Day weekend, right? I've got to be. It's Memorial Day weekend, and it's the 3-day weekend. And what I love the most about Memorial Day is that it's the first day of the summer, right? It's the very first day of the summer. Summer's going to start, and then we're gonna just keep going until Labor Day, and we have 90 days of absolute blast, absolute playing, absolute freedom. And it's also the end of school. If these kids aren't out in the South, they're getting out in the Northwest. They're starting to leave. They have like a week or two left of school, and it's the time when there's more freedom, and it's also this opportunity to start uncoiling all of that structure, all of that pressure, all of those things that happen to us throughout the fall when we're gearing up for learning, the winter when it's cold, the spring when we're trying to finish things off and start new projects. It's a time to untangle. The days are longer, the evenings are longer, the mornings start earlier, and we, in a lot of places around the U.S. And around the Northern Hemisphere, we can open our windows and we can start to enjoy the sound of birds and nature talking to us. And it's also an opportunity to sit outside more. I like to do these broadcasts outside where there's birds chirping and you can hear different sounds around me, like the ferry coming up around the corner. So the summertime is the one time when we have open space, open time, more time to uncoil who we are and what's been happening to us over the last 9 months, right? It's a perfect opportunity to change routines, to get out of ruts, to explore new schedules, and things that offer opportunities for you to do something else besides work or manage kids or manage yourself. It's a time to really look at our stress levels and reducing the cortisol in our body, the stress, the fight or flight, separating ourselves from screens. I saw this, I posted this article on my Facebook page yesterday about a child who published an article with his teacher who said, "I can't stand my mom's phone. I hate my mom's phone. She's on it all the time. She thinks she's talking to me and she nods, but she's not really listening," which I thought was hilarious because that's sort of the first thing that we all talk about with teens and having young adults is that we can't get them to look up from their phones. Well, we're starting to do that too as adults. So maybe get away from screens, away from streaming, away from our phones, away from computers. It's an opportunity to sleep outside. You know, when the kids were growing up, I put a big old tent on the back deck, threw a bunch of old mattresses and pads in there, and they slept outside whenever it was hot. They loved it. It's a chance to go on mini excursions. Whether it is, I'm going to pick a town like an hour away and dilly-dally and maybe hit a brew pub up on the way for some company, and then go out to dinner up there, sit down by the water, enjoy it, and then sort of meander back once a week to give myself an opportunity to play. So I'm not just ending my day sitting here and then sort of getting ready for bed. It's an opportunity to create time and space, meaning time and space that if we are matter, and if our matter gets tighter and clenched more and more and more over the course of each day, each week, each stress level, how do we start to open it up so that there's a little bit more space? Get into some of that gray area. Get into some of the things, the areas where creativity exists. And in this creativity, we can give ourselves a little space. Some wonderful ideas start to come up. What we're doing is we're trying to spend this summer calming the overactive brain and untangling all of those stressors that our children may have from school, that we may have from the pressure of, as we talked about earlier, winter, school, work, multitasking. Even if you're a single human being living on this earth, how can you turn around and look at the summer and go, what can I do to untangle any stress at night when I get off of work? Now, I'm originally, well, not originally, but for the last 8 years, I was living in Montana. It doesn't get dark there till 10 o'clock. Phenomenal. It's lovely to be out of work, done. In the traditional work week, between 5 or 6. For me, I had this office down on the Flathead River, and when I finished my calls, I would always schedule my calls to go to 8 o'clock. And I go, I can't do anything from this point. I have to find a way to relax and get back into my body. So I kept my paddleboard down at the edge of the river, and I would just put my suit on, step on the paddleboard, and just go on this really quiet river up and back for about an hour. And by the time I got off my paddleboard, I was back into my body. I was back beat to myself. So what we're looking for is opportunities to spend the summer looking for creating creativity, transforming our brains, into something wonderful, awakening yourself to something different. Now, I work with adults. I work with adults who are parenting. I work with men and women who are going through midlife changes, looking at unraveling. I like Brene Brown's Unraveling the Midlife Structure. Empty nesting. Maybe changing their relationship status, where there's a lot of sort of taps on the shoulder to do something different, to do something really different. And this is also paired with the fact that I work with young adults. And young adults are what I like about working with young adults is that by about 22 to 23, they're looking around going, I just spent 4 years in college. I don't know what I'm really good at. I don't know what I want to do. And so, and they're open and they're porous and they're looking around like, I need to know more about who I am so I know which direction to point my arrow. So this work with young adults and this work with adults dovetails, because the creativity and the tools and the skills that we get to play with from an open, 20-year-old who's looking for a different way of living their life, I can bring those over into the 45, 50, 60-year-old who's going, I am so condensed into this structured life that I've created, and I need to do something different. And these two sort of weave and help each other. And what keeps coming out of it constantly is that space and time. We need to be able to feel our bodies. We need to be able to give ourselves some respite from what we've been doing that hasn't been working. And I'm here to invite you to use summertime as the absolute best vehicle for that. It's a chance to reboot who you are. Sort of take it off of the schedule that it's been on, gives yourself an opportunity to do something you would never do, whether it's get up at 6 in the morning and walk and listen to the birds, and then come in, take your shower, and go to work. Whether it's making sure that you eat outside every night, or that you take a book and you sit in a chair and you listen to the city, or you listen to the nature starting to calm down. These are things that are free, they're easy, and when we do this, we also model to our children what, if you have children at home, even your partners, anyone around you, this is how I'm going to do my own self-care. This is how I'm going to come back into myself. So I talked about paddleboarding. I talked about taking a book and going outside. I moved my little kitchen table outside. I had a friend over and we just picked it up and moved it out and sat out here and watched the sunset. And it was fabulous. It was such a nice difference than sitting inside the way we usually do. Used to play 9 holes of golf from 6 to 8. And it doesn't even take 2 hours to play 9 holes of golf. And it was a way to get out and just walk the course and enjoy the end of the evening. Take a road trip like we talked about to something that you want to see, whether it's a historical monument, whether it's a location where you can take a dinner, a salad, pack it, go along. I've got a couple of those portable hammocks. And when my kids were little, whenever we would set up a campground, we would just take these hammocks and put them out. And it was, of course, I'm dating myself, during the Harry Potter era. So each kid got a book and a hammock or a tent or something, and they would just disappear into Harry Potter land. And there were no time constraints. There were no agendas in our little campgrounds. Kayak, sail, fish if water is close by. Sometimes, like even in the city of Portland, around Seattle, there's Pike's Market, there's farm stands, there's U-Picks close by. So go out and pick berries. Go out and pick peaches. Go out and bring some fruit home that you can use. You want to rest your eyes. You want to get off the screens. You want to spend some time outside letting nature sort of recalibrate you. You can take a walk. You can take a hike. You can take a book. Last night, I took a book down to the local wine bar where there was music, but I picked a table way off at the edge so I could sit there and just read and listen to the music and sort of occasionally look up and watch what was going on in this little community. So what we're doing is we're resetting our bio clock. We're taking the stress out and we're calming the cortisol down. We're taking fight or flight out and we're restoring our body, and we're using nature and we're using the time of the year and we're using the pace in order to do that. You can also do this in the morning. We've talked about getting up early. But this is what we're doing is we're expanding time. We're giving you a lot more space to work, and a way to get rid of some of the tension, put some movement in, and start to bring in some breathing. Because when we can breathe, then what we know is that we can't hold fear in our body at the same time as we're breathing. So sit outside, take deep breaths, enjoy the sound of nature if you can. And if it's the middle of a city, get out, take a walk, watch the city quiet down, watch it go inward as it gets dark out. Use this calm to bring your system into homeostasis, break those unwanted habits, and get off the screens. I think that's the most important thing we can do this summer for ourselves. This is what I do. I'm a coach. I work with all sorts of challenges on changing behaviors. So let me know if you're interested. You can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and have a wonderful Memorial Day and a wonderful Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, where's my... There it is.